Welcome to the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman, caffeine lover, mom of triplet boys, and someone who truly enjoys living in the country, taking walks out in nature, enjoying time with my dogs and family, and a big believer of slowing down so I can live my best life to the fullest. Each week, we delve into the balance of mind, body, and spirit, aligning our lives with what truly matters. So whether you're tuning in for the first time or you're a longtime listener, thank you for being here. This is your invitation to reflect, realign, and make your next slow step count. So let's explore going slow together. Today's guest is Swami Nityananda, spiritual teacher of the Awake Yoga meditation community. Consecrated as a Swami in 2014, her teachings guide listeners and readers towards a deeper experience of love, wisdom, liberation, joy, harmony, and kindness. And you'll see this in just the energy that she gives in this interview. She is full of joy, love, and light. And what makes Swami's voice so unique is the beautiful bridge that she creates between intellectual depth and spiritual practice. Before dedicating herself fully to teaching meditation and non-dual awareness, she spent more than 25 years as a professor of English at Loyola University, specializing in American and world literature. She earned her PhD from Vanderbilt University and received numerous honors throughout her academic career, including Fulbright grants, an NEH grant, and an Andrew W. Mellon Fellowship. Today, she brings that same depth and compassion and wisdom into conversation about meditation, service, awareness, and living from the heart. And in this episode, we explore what it truly means to slow down spiritually, how presence transforms the way we move through everyday life, and why kindness may be the most powerful form of wisdom available to us. Let's get into it. Swami, thank you for agreeing to sit down with us today on the Go Slow to Go Fast podcast, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a joy to be with you.
Yes. For our listeners and viewers out there, I always ask all my guests the first question. Can you just share a little bit about how you go slow these days?
Absolutely. So I would say I begin my day with connecting with slowness. And for me, that takes the form of meditation first thing. And so I really like getting up in the morning and enjoying some peace and quiet. And it's actually kind of before everyone else wakes up. And there's just a sense of potential. And there's also a sense of ability to connect with creative energy and with the highest good for yourself and for your day and for anyone else you encounter. And so for anyone who has a current meditation practice, to just allow yourself to, you're almost like inviting peace or stillness to open the way for you throughout your day. And if you don't have a meditation practice, it can be as simple as 3 breaths before you get out of bed, like before your feet hit the ground and before you start kind of moving, to just connect and to say, what's my highest good for this day? What's my deepest intention for this day? And how can I allow this day to help me expand in connection with that inner quiet, even while I'm in the midst of the busiest activity?
Yeah. And I love how you say it's that moment first thing in the morning when everybody's probably still asleep and it's just you and you're waking up and it's quiet. It's that stillness. It's a special time of day.
Isn't it really precious?
Mm.
And I would say, like, I talk to a lot of people who learn to meditate, and just even setting your alarm 10 minutes earlier than normal and just 5 minutes, 10 minutes of quiet before everyone and everything is in motion, it really changes kind of the quality and the feeling of your whole day. And then I would say as well that people really consistently report they more than get that 5 minutes back, or they more than get that 10 minutes back. And they notice that it improves the quality of their relationships. It includes their ability to be present and responsive. And that's with friends, it's with family, it's with clients, it's whoever you encounter.
Yes. And you speak a lot out there in the world about awareness. So I definitely want to touch on that a little bit. But just noticing how you feel differently when you do just that practice in the morning can be huge for somebody's day to just take a different turn in a positive way.
Agree. And I would say with that word awareness, it's really empowering because if I have the awareness that at any moment I can take a break, like I know things get very high intensity. So you might be in a high pressure business meeting or you might be presenting a report and the stakeholders have like a lot of interest and intensity, or you might be having an intense family conversation. So I know those things are natural. They're a natural part of life. And if we have this awareness that I can go and get a drink of water and I can take 3 quiet breaths while I'm drinking that water and connect to that inner quiet. And then we come from a different place when we go back to our presentation or whatever the conversation is that we're engaged in. And so it's really helpful to have that self awareness that at any moment, and this is true for any human, I have the freedom to reset. I have the freedom to refocus. I have the freedom to come back to that quiet. And then I think you're absolutely right. That actually propels us forward in a really positive way.
Yeah. I mean, mm, I that moment where you just said we have the freedom is huge for people. If you can just hear that again, we have the freedom to take that moment for ourselves and reset or start our day however we choose.
And that's one of the most empowering and I would say self healing, self liberating aspects of realizing that the choices that I'm making right now in this moment, that's what is creating what comes next. And so when I just remember, what do I want to create right now? What's the highest good for me to create right now? What am I choosing right now? And then I can just reset. I can say, is this thought empowering what I want to create? Or would I like to choose a different thought? Is this word
Mm,
that I was about to speak going to be helpful in energizing highest good? Or would I like to choose a different word?
right. Because we're humans, we're living a human experience. We know that there's going to be moments where things may come out of our mouth that we wish we didn't say. There's going to be moments we just that's what a human experience is going to be like sometimes. But if we just make that choice to reset and choose again, you can change that path.
You can change the dynamics of the relationship. And I would say that you're talking about there are those moments where you just say, "Wait, what did I just say?" And you can almost say, "Oh, I'm sorry, that didn't express what I fully intended. Allow me to
Mhm.
just rephrase that." Or
Mhm.
just, "I wasn't my clearest in that moment. Can you excuse me and can we rewind? Let's just start
Yeah.
from the top."
Yeah. It's okay, right? Yes. Well, I mean, I do want to give some time to unpack a lot of the ideas that you speak about so frequently on your YouTube channel, and we're going to talk about other ways that people can get in touch with you. But I've been listening to your videos, and I you just speak so beautifully about joy and freedom, and you've already done a few, bits of laughter. I mean, that's just who you are. You come through that way. So, was there a moment in your own life when you realized that constantly driving to go fast, if you ever were that way or if you ever felt that way, was no longer sustainable? Like, how did you come to the point where you wanted to speak on awareness and what you do now?
So, that's such a good question, thank you. I really respect the insight that is in that question, and I guess my response is that I would say for me, but for all of us, life is constantly giving us opportunities to learn and grow and expand and become more self aware. And so I would say that for me, it's almost like every day there's opportunities to realize how am I pacing myself and is it helpful right now? Like I will do something like if I've been on screen for several hours, I will just go outside and it might be for 3 breaths that I will go outside. But just being outside gives my brain a reset. It gives my nervous system a reset. And I'll look at whatever's right there, like it's, the tree, the leaf, the flower. If there's a bumblebee, I'll look at that. And there's just something about that present moment awareness that allows you to connect with the part of the brain. And so this I'm starting to draw on neuroscience, but it allows us to connect with the part of the brain that's imaginative, that's creative, that has access to long-term memory and solutions. Whereas I really value, I'm sure you do and your listeners do, that ability to focus, like to be very, very focused. What's on my screen? What am I doing in this moment? What decisions am I making? What details or information or data am I gathering? So that's really important. But then to give yourself that reset of go outside, it can be 3 breaths and connect with that expanded awareness part of your brain. And when you come back, it makes you fresh and it makes you have access to insights that you otherwise would not have had. So I would actually say this is a daily thing. And then I would say that maybe make it a weekly thing so that like at least once a week, even if you only, I know people's calendars are really different and people are at different points in terms of how much time am I able to set aside to do this self-reflection and this quiet. But even if once a week you are super busy and you choose to put aside 20 minutes in your calendar and you just make this commitment to yourself and you say, this is my 20 minutes to just be with myself and to turn within and to say, how is it going? How am I doing? What do I need? And I'm talking about greeting yourself like a friend, the same way that you would listen to a friend whom you had compassion for and you had a confidentiality relationship with, and you were able just to be really honest and kind. So to have that friend relationship with yourself and to be really honest and listen and people tell me things like, I just need to listen to music. I just need to dance in my kitchen while I'm doing the dishes. Like, I just need to read a book for fun. It's something like really
Mhm.
simple that just nourishes each person. So I'm going to pause because I just said a bunch, but I'm interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, I think when I hear the reminder of you need to treat yourself with as much compassion as you would others, that's huge because I think I know I am. I can speak from my experience. I'm very self critical. I can be. I've been working on it for, I'd say, probably the last maybe 3 years, definitely the last year. Just noticing, not really, not always stopping myself, but noticing why does that keep coming up? Why am I so hard on myself? And I've just learned to forgive. And like you said, just reset and try again and just notice. Like, would I speak to a child that way? Would I speak to my parents that way? Like somebody I love, somebody I don't know? No. So why am I speaking to myself that way?
Great. I love what you said. And just to bring in a little neuroscience research that backs up what you noticed. So keep the ability to self-correct. Like it's important to have self-awareness. It's important to
Hmm.
say, okay, I'm going to choose and I'm going to follow through. And I'm going to, in a good, positive, healthy way, hold myself accountable for my choices and live toward my highest good. That's important. But the self-critical part, if we are sort of beating ourselves up, the neuroscience shows that our body receives that as if we are facing threat of physical violence.
Hmm.
So it creates a cascading fear response, like a cortisol stress response in our body, and that doesn't help. It sort of like activates the part of our body that thinks I'm not safe, so my body isn't safe to digest food. My immune system's not safe to function optimally right now. And then that creates effects on things like sleep and on our ability to be present with others. And so one of the things that people consistently share is that as they learn, again, keep the healthy, I'm choosing to follow through and grow in wisdom and strength and well-being, keep
Hmm.
that healthy ability, but to drop the self-judgment and the sort of like unkind
Mhm.
self-criticism, then they say
Mhm.
that that actually increases their ability to be present and to be a good friend, to be a good spouse, to be a good parent, to be a good caregiver, to be a good supervisor in a workplace situation, because then they're coming from compassion and self awareness, and they're able to extend compassion and awareness to others as well.
Can you speak about awareness for somebody who's not aware and non-dual awareness, like what it is? Could you
Yep.
define it for us? And then speak about why it's important to be aware of your everyday.
Yeah, so my understanding of non dual awareness is it's always with us, whether we are consciously present to it or not. And it's the light. So, for every listener, if you just think about the light that dwells within you. And so, this is if you are a parent, it's the light that allows you to be kind and cheerful and good humored and playful and responsive in age appropriate ways to whatever your child is going through. And it's always going to change. And the light in you is always going to guide you and help you know, like in this case, I just need to give my child a hug. In this case, my child would benefit from laughing. In this case,
Mhm.
my child would benefit from connecting with creativity, right? So, and there's almost like this, there's a continual moment to moment we're able to connect as we listen within to what is
Mhm.
highest good in this moment. And so, from my perspective, we all have access to this all the time. And it's also like it's the light that is building bridges through engineers. It's the light that is doing science through scientists. It's the light that is an amazing surgeon through an amazing surgeon. So everyone has it. And then what happens is as we become consciously aware of it, as we learn to trust, we really learn to trust that there is this awareness that is going to support me if I mean, I'm making this up, but I know that sometimes things arise, like in the life of a parent, where something happens with a child, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. I
Mhm.
have to seek counsel, or I have to take my kid to ER, and I didn't expect that I would need to do that.
Right.
And the light within you will walk you through that. It will connect you
Mhm.
with the perfect therapies if therapies are needed, or it will just connect you with the perfect play if what is what is needed for your child. And so
Mhm.
one of the reasons why it's so joyful, and you use the word freedom, I would say it's very freeing as well to connect with this light within ourselves, is because it's our true nature. And so I guess like I would say from my perspective, and I'm inviting listeners to tune into this for yourselves, but I would say each of us has access points or connection points that are innate to each of us. So for me, one is nature. And from my earliest childhood, I was just aware like there's a wholeness, like an energy of sacredness in nature that it's possible for me to connect to. And that's very nurturing, it's very healing, it's very empowering, it's very strengthening for me. And then I know for other people, it might be dancing, or it might be
Mhm.
that it's natural for other people to really connect with the wisdom of elders. And so to just be aware there's this wisdom that dwells within you. And when you listen to it, when you tune into it, then you're sort of consciously giving permission for the light within you to share in the highest possible ways. And so we each have this intrinsic wisdom. We each have this intrinsic awareness, and being in contact with that, it's innate joy. Like, it's innate freedom. Like, you know how kids laugh for no reason at all?
Mhm.
It's back to that, but it's keeping our adult wisdom, and it's keeping all
Mhm.
of the adult maturity and skills and strength that we have accumulated over our lifetime.
Mhm. Would you say it's like the flow when you're in that mode of reading something that you really enjoy or doing something you really enjoy or something that you're skilled at and it's like that flow, it just comes easily. Is that part of it? Is that it?
I would say that's definitely part of it for sure, and we all have
Mhm.
access to that, it's natural. There's, like, a
Mm,
life energy that shares through each of us, there's a kindness that is
mm,
natural and shares through each of us, and I would say it expresses differently through different personality types, right? So, I'm sure
mhm,
that listeners know, like, some teachers express caring by being very stern, and they're actually helping
Mhm.
you. And you can kind of tell, like, they don't mean anything by this sternness. They're helping me to be
Mhm.
excellent. Coaches, I think, sometimes do this as well. So that's just like a style for that
Mhm.
particular teacher or that particular coach. But then some other teachers or coaches, they work through laughter and they work through humor, and that's natural to them. It's right for them to have an awareness, like,
Mhm.
that's my style, and that helps me help others be their highest good. And so I would say yes, like, being true to that
Mhm.
energy, and also to the style that that energy uses to express through us. So part of it is the flow, and then I would actually say part of it for me is there's like a discernment or a non-attachment. And I think this is one of the things for
Mm.
people who are really compassionate. I think probably you and probably most of your listeners would
Mhm.
identify as like, I'm really compassionate. It's easy for me to be very caring. It's easy for me to be very generous and giving. Then to have the discernment to know, um, am I trying to carry something for another that actually is not mine to carry? And so I'm
Mm.
unintentionally disrespecting their integrity and their autonomy and their wholeness and their learning process. And so unintentionally, I'm not being of service to highest good. And so I would say that is equally important. So the flow, the love, the compassion, but also the wisdom, the clarity, the discernment to know I've done what I
Mhm.
can do right now. And I have to respectfully honor that this person is on their journey, and I cannot learn for another person. I can create all the conditions that make it possible and joyful and inspiring for another person to learn. And then it's part of my obligation to give them space so that they
Yeah.
can learn. And if I try to learn for them, I'm unintentionally interrupting their growth rather than helping their growth.
Mhm. Yes. As a caregiver, parent, if you're caring for elder parents, I mean, there's all kinds of stages in life when you might come across something like this happening. Yes, if you intervene and step in to try to shield that person, you're really taking their growth possibility away.
And it's a fine line. There's an art to it because we're not saying be callous. We're not saying don't be present, but there's a discernment. There's a continual
Mhm.
listening. What is of service and what is honoring the light and the wisdom that already exists within this person.
Mhm. So would you say to be able to honor that person's light and existence, we need to setting up boundaries is actually very healthy and saying no when it's appropriate
Yeah.
or not intervening when you don't need to, I guess.
Yes, I do agree with you about that, and so I do think that's today's language is, healthy boundaries, and so I think
Mm.
for everyone to have awareness of, and probably for different people, we have healthy boundaries in maybe one area of our life, but there's another area of our life where we have a learning curve, or
Mhm.
we have a growth curve in that other area of our life. And so just to give yourself clarity, like you professionally, I'm just making this up as an example, but you might
Mhm.
be amazing at, if you're a teacher, grading in a really organized and kind and neutral and caring and effective way, but then when you're having conferences with parents, it might be harder to maintain that kind of neutrality and that
Yeah.
ability to just like neutrally report, because emotions get involved, right? Like the
Mhm.
parents have
Mhm.
emotions, the kids have emotions, teachers have emotions too. And that's just one example. But, and
Yeah.
then what you can do is when you have that awareness and you say, well, no, actually, I'm very kind and calm and neutral and fair with grading, so I'm going to bring that kind, calm, neutral, fair energy in to the conferences with parents. And it would just be an analogy. I know not all
Mhm.
listeners are teachers, but in the area of your life where you do have clear, neutral, healthy boundaries, bring that over into other areas of your life.
That's a great strategy to think about because we have our areas where we are, more naturally able to keep those boundaries clear and be neutral. for sure. So we can all kind of take a note and apply it in another part of our life. So that's helpful. As I'm helping my father recover from knee surgery, I need to make sure that I'm not doing everything for him because he has to work on his PT, right? He has to get up and move around, and I can't move everything out of the way for him. He has to navigate that path himself. So, yeah, it's a learning process for me right now. So that spoke to me.
Joy and respect and healing to you and to your dad. I'm glad you can be
Thank
with him.
you.
That's really a special time.
Yes, it is. And I'm also realizing that's a gift. It's a gift of time to be with him. I don't have to do unless I need to get up and do something. Obviously preparing meals and helping around the house, but I don't have to do a lot when I'm normally a caregiver of my own family and they are not with us. So it's a change. It's a role change for me. So this is a helpful reminder for me personally.
I love also what you said about the gift of being, because I think maybe in our culture, especially, you're probably a super active, high-powered person, and many of your listeners probably are too. And I think our culture naturally helps us to be active and high-powered. But then I think our culture maybe, and your podcast is helping us with this, but has not as much taught us how to downshift and how to downregulate our nervous system, and also just the sheer joy of being. And I actually hear people say this, like it makes me a little bit open-hearted in a good way, but people say this
Mhm.
like, I didn't know it at the time, but I was building that house with my brother, and then my brother passed away, and it turned out that building that house with my brother was like the most precious memories that I
Mhm.
have. And at the time, all I was aware of was like the labor of building the house. And now I look back and I know that
Right.
it was being together. It was
Mhm.
being with my brother. So people say things like that all the time, that we're so conscious of how we're doing. And I'm encouraging people, myself and everyone,
Mhm.
keep being responsive and responsible, please. Yes. But to give ourselves the gift of noticing that all along we are being with our loved ones, and that the quality of our being really, really matters. So just to notice, it's
Mhm.
an amazing gift every single day of being
Yes.
with our loved ones is such an amazing gift.
Yes. And I could be in my feelings and be, a little bit more negative about all the things I have to do, or I could change that thinking and realize it's a gift every morning when I wake up. I'm still alive. I'm able to spend time with my family and do some things for them and also just be. So it's a helpful reminder, especially for anybody else out there going through a transition in their life or being asked to be of service to others. I know it can be difficult to put your life aside and help others, but it's definitely a gift of
I
time at the same time.
I would say that as well, and I would say, so I talk to a lot of people who are of service in a lot of different contexts, and one of the things that someone said who was caretaking for her mom, she said that she would sing to her mom.
Mm,
And her mom at that point had dementia, but
mm,
the singing allowed them to connect. And so to just connect to, for her, she was singing out loud, but for
mm.
everyone to connect with, there's like this song of the heart within each of us. And it is actually able to sing even through all the work. And so I
Mhm,
really do put on music while I'm doing the dishes, and I connect with music that makes me dance and music that makes me laugh, and if it makes you dance and laugh at the same time, all the better.
mm.
And so
Yes.
it's just like at the same time that you're doing something that needs to be done,
Mhm,
you can bring this
mhm.
energy of joy into it, and it really shifts your relationship to the tasks of
Yes.
daily life. Like the tasks of daily life are still there, or as you were saying, or so many people find, that
Mhm,
it feels like the tasks increase and we're called upon to be of service. But if we
mhm.
come from, this is an amazing opportunity to allow light to share through me in whatever way is highest and best. And I'm here. I'm here to be helpful. And then what
Mhm,
happens is that energy of helpfulness shares through you, and it can help soften the edges on, I know you said human emotions can arise. It can help
Hmm.
soften the edges on human emotions. Like if you're feeling tired or you're feeling stressed or you're feeling like, oh my gosh, and all the work
Yes.
back home is piling up while I'm helping here.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, it can. And I think it's a good reminder for anybody listening out there or watching, and myself, that this too shall pass. We're going to get through it, but to not try to speed through it, really just enjoy it while I can.
I think, I mean, what you were
Yeah.
saying, you didn't use this word, but I think it's, um, humans have this desire to go faster than the natural pace of life.
Mhm.
So, to allow yourself instead to
Mhm.
align with the natural pace
Mm.
of life, and it's kind of like, I don't know, where I am right now, it's full bloom spring still. And spring knows when to bloom at the exact right time. And if you
Mhm.
are a person who wants to grow plants in your yard or you have a garden, what you do is you work with the elements. You work with when the sun is there and when the rain is there and when the warmth is there and when the cool is there. And so you know as a gardener that you get to work with what is in terms of the natural pace of life. So to allow ourselves to have it be joyful that that same thing is true in other areas of our lives as well.
Yes, that is so true. So, like you said, you've already alluded to the audience out there. Many listening, I'm sure, and watching are high achievers. They are balancing so many things, careers and caregiving and personal growth. How could somebody listening out there begin to practice that non dual awareness in the middle of their daily stress or chaos or responsibility by really just taking a moment for themselves? What would be some?
So easy entry points, and I started off by giving one. It's before you get out of bed in the morning, when you wake up, before the kind of stream of the to-do list comes into your awareness.
Mhm.
I have a stream of a to-do list too, so I'm right there with everybody. But before you connect with that, connect with being, connect with your heart, connect with what, if you want to use the word spiritual quality, what spiritual quality, it could be something like kindness, or it could be something like joy, or it could be something like inner freedom. What spiritual quality would I like to fill my day with? And even something as simple as setting an intention at the beginning of the day and saying, today I'm dedicating myself to kindness. That energy of kindness then can flow into your conversations with your spouse or your kids or your parents. It flows into if you're taking the bus or riding the train, or if you're driving, it flows into the
Mhm.
way that you're driving. If you're having those high powered meetings, whatever the work is that you're doing, that energy of kindness flows into your day. And then at the end of the day to reflect. And it again can be just 3 quiet moments at the end of the day before you're so tired that you're not in your full awareness, right? So
Mhm.
keep yourself alert enough to be in your full awareness and you just look all the moments throughout the day where kindness was present with me. Were there any moments where I stepped out of that flow of kindness? And then you sort of say, how could I open in those moments tomorrow so that I choose to stay in that energy of kindness? And what happens is we accumulate these skills, we accumulate these virtues. And so one of the teachings that comes from the Buddha, drop by drop, the bucket is filled. So every time I choose kindness, that's like a drop in the bucket. And then I'm
Mm.
accumulating this, you could call it like a storehouse, or you could call it wealth, or you could call it like refreshment or strength, spiritual energy that's with you. So that then when you need a access to great kindness, like in moments of intense challenge or pain, or there's like a huge change that's going on in your life, you have access from within to all of those moments of kindness. They stay with you and they strengthen you in your kindness. So that's one example.
Mm. I like that imagery of filling your own bucket. So I'm thinking, you know, y- there are moments in our life where we're going to be having to think about using discernment.
Hmm.
Um, and we may think that some of these simple practices, you know, might just sound too simple. But I really think if we just slow down and reconnect during that, in that overwhelming moment, I think it will work. What would be, I guess, a way to kind of speak to that a little bit more? Like when you're in that moment, like you said before, we have the freedom to reset.
Yep.
Is it something that you can do, like, literally while you're in a meeting with a bunch of people around you? Or do you really, or is it more appropriate maybe to get up and say, "I need to go take a break and go"? Like, can you do it anywhere, I guess is what I'm asking.
You can reset anywhere. This is true. And the other thing that I would say is if you are doing this, so in the morning before you get out of bed and at night before you go to sleep, if you are specifically connecting with your own inner strength and your own inner awareness, that inner strength and awareness are with you in a business meeting. And so in the midst of the meeting, it's possible to inwardly, quietly reconnect and to just ask yourself, what am I creating right now? What is highest good right now? How may I be of assistance and support to highest good right now? It also takes ego out of it. So if you're
Mhm,
asking, how may I be of assistance to highest good right now? It's not about me. It's not about any other human personality. And so that gets rid of duality. So duality is like,
mhm,
there's one human will, there's another human will, we're going to go up against each other. And I'd rather assert my human will over and against this other human will, which just reinforces the opposition and the struggle. But if you're
mhm.
saying, what is of service to highest good? You're actually opening to the level of solutions rather than the level of problems. So it can happen right in the midst of a business meeting. I also want to acknowledge, I don't know if you were thinking about this, but I would
Mhm,
say that there are some times in life where there is like a major change, like something traumatic happens to a loved one or something unexpected happens to you. And there's
mhm.
almost like an overwhelm of the brain and of the nervous system. And you're sort of not able in that moment to access your rational awareness. And so in those
Yes.
moments, I think it's completely appropriate to excuse yourself
Mhm,
and to just say, I'm sorry, I'm not at my highest good right now. I respect you so much. I want to be at my highest good. And so respectfully, I'm excusing myself right now. And
mhm,
then you leave the room and you do what you can to reset. And again, this is going to be dependent on the person and
mhm,
the constitution of each person and what the situation is. But to give yourself ability just to breathe deeply into the abdomen, that can help you connect with this kind of calming, grounding, centering. For some people, people respond to this differently. Physical activity really helps. And so there are some people I know who they work out, they lift weights, and that helps them kind of melt away some of this high
mhm,
stress, high cortisol. And then they're able to say, okay, I'm back and I'm in contact with my prefrontal cortex, the part of my brain that has access to feel calm and to make decisions and to have excellent executive function, to follow through on the decisions that I make. So, another thing that I would say for listeners is to be aware that the fear based part of your brain, the amygdala, is the part of your brain that responds first. So, if something unexpected comes up, it's entirely possible that your instantaneous reaction is going to come from the fear based part of your brain. It really helps just to pause and to say, do I really mean my first response? Before you speak, before you choose, before you decide, before you take action, to literally just pause and say, am I coming from the amygdala? Because the amygdala comes online faster and sooner than the prefrontal cortex. And this is designed to help us. So if we need to run from a tiger, evolutionarily, we can run from a tiger. And so what happens is then a sibling, I'm just making this up, says something critical. The fear based part of your brain can react as if you need to run from a tiger. But if you pause and you connect with the prefrontal cortex and you say, is that true? Or is my sibling just really tired and hungry and they don't actually mean what they're saying? And so I can basically just say, I'm going to let that one go. And I'm going to ask my sibling, do you need something to eat? And then what happens is the reactivity has gone. You have chosen self mastery, and you've actually chosen self mastery in a way that helps you and your relationship and the whole family. And so that's just an example. I mean, these things happen all the time in our day to day life.
That is so true. It's almost like you saw um, a little doorway into my life last week. So thank you for that. I mean, it's the human experience,
It's
so
a
for
human
sure.
experience. That's
It
what
is.
we're here to help each other.
Yeah. So, thinking about how you put on music and, dance when you're doing the dishes, you're choosing joy. You're you're hoping, to just reset and do something fun while you're also doing something that's a responsibility. And I think that can definitely get us thinking a little differently about our day-to-day, things that we have to do. Some people call them mundane, the mundane, right? So, is there, I guess it's kind of, is it a mindset limit that we put on ourselves to think that we have to not enjoy the mundane?
It's
Or
Yeah, that is such an interesting question. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
you're fine. No, go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just so excited by your question. So I think that what I would say is that joy is natural to our being. And so, like, if you think about the kids in your life, and when I say you, I mean all listeners, just the way that kids play, like outside my window last night, these kids were playing paddleball. They were just so fully present. They were having so much fun. They were just beautiful. They were totally themselves, totally present in the moment. And that's natural to us. And then I'm not sure at what age exactly it happens, but maybe around 11, we start to become self conscious and we start to doubt our ability to those kids were just all out. They were completely unself conscious and they were joy in motion. And then I think there's this point where self consciousness enters and we start to worry about the clothes that I'm wearing or the way my hair is or what the other kids will think or am I good enough? Or maybe I don't really know how to play paddleball. Maybe I don't really know how to dance. Maybe I don't really know how to draw. And so it's healthy for us to grow up and to gain self awareness and to gain adult maturity. But then, from my take, there's a certain point in our life where almost like there's an inner light bulb that comes on and says, okay, it was very appropriate for you to go to college. It was very appropriate for you to do grad school if you did grad school. It's very appropriate for you to have a job and to be really steady and fulfilling your responsibilities. Please keep doing that. And joy is actually still here. Joy is intrinsic to our being. And so we can bring joy in to the classroom if that's where we are, or we can bring joy into the boardroom if that's where we are. We can bring joy into the family dinner if that's where we are. And it's non-separate. Like that's the non-duality part of this is that it's the same way that those kids were just being present, being themselves. So then my being present, just being myself and trusting the light in me, trusting the light in you, it allows everyone to have more fun. And it really does kind of like trying to think of how to say this. Like I literally have been in meetings that have been very tense where high stakes things are being decided and just one person in the room choosing to come from that inner joy, that inner peace, it can dissipate fear, which causes the reactivity and the tempers and the kind of I don't know, instead of a hardening of positions, there's just an opening. There is a listening and there is okay, I was kind of angry and kind of on a tear there, but what if I pause and listen? And then there's this solution that emerges that wouldn't have emerged unless there had been that kind of pause and that shift and that de-escalation of the rising temper and the rising temperature and the rising stress.
Yeah. Bringing that joyful energy in whatever space you're in can really change your atmosphere, whatever space you're in, for sure.
And I would actually say I think I need to say this because I think some people are afraid of not being serious. I'm a very
Mm.
responsible person, so this is not about being frivolous, and it's not about
Mhm.
being disrespectful of the seriousness of your situation, but literally, I know very responsible, effective attorneys who bring joy into their work, and they're better for it, and their clients are better for it, the outcomes are better for it, the juries who interact with them, the judges, everybody is better for it. I know high-powered, highly effective surgeons who bring joy into their work. Everybody is better for
Mhm.
it. So, like, the whole surgical team and the patients and the patient outcomes is better for it. So I think it's really important because somewhere, somehow, we have got it into our thinking that joy is not
Yeah.
serious, and so we won't be taken seriously. But I would actually say if you're an attorney, it helps you be a better attorney if you connect to joy as it's natural for you to connect with joy. And the same thing with if you're a surgeon or whatever line of work you're in,
Mhm.
it helps you
Mhm.
be better at what you're doing because then you're coming from what I consider to be the truth of our being, which is with us always.
Mm. Yeah. I think I don't know. Somewhere along the way, I think part of our culture has thought maybe being joyful is disrespectful. I don't know. Maybe just I'm not really sure.
I'm
Like
not
to
sure
laugh is not to be disrespectful.
right, and I'm talking about, like, a healthy kind of laughter, like, it's not laughing
Mhm.
at anyone, it's not
Right.
demeaning anyone, and it's not frivolous, it's just a
Right.
lightness of being.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, I think that's in Proverbs, "A merry heart doeth good like a medicine," so, I mean, it is also in our spiritual traditions that it's
Mm.
recognized that joy has, like, almost this healing quality to it.
Mhm. Yes. Well, I would say so. I've seen it change the temperature of a room for sure. So we know it works. We just have to lean on it a little bit more when we're in those moments. So thinking about maybe it may have a little to do with fear, like you said, being in a very tense situation. Maybe fear, scarcity, or the pressure to do more. I just wonder if there's
Yeah.
that disconnection from joy. But I think it's I think you have spoken to this before about unconditional kindness helps us to return to that freedom of just bringing the kindness.
Yeah, you're probably quite right because I do think when I mentioned at about age 11, we become self-conscious. I think that's where fear enters in, and it starts kind of almost
Mm.
serving as like what's the right way to put it? We hold ourselves back in our own
Mhm.
self-expression, and part of it, I think, is we become aware all of these pre-existing ways of expressing ourselves are already here, and we want to learn, like, how do I navigate in terms of how do I write a paper in school, right? Or, like, how do I do a lab report in school? Those are helpful things to know and helpful ways of expressing ourselves, but somehow we kind of train ourselves out of that natural expressiveness that we all have. And so to learn the lab report, but then to keep the creativity. And I would actually say, like, that there are a lot of scientists, including Einstein, who talked about it's really important not only to study the science, but also to listen inwardly. I mean, I think he was pretty clearly talking about intuition. And he was
Mm.
talking about that solutions don't come from the same level as the problem. They come from a different level. And so to transcend the level of fear, which I think you were talking about, like that level of self-criticism as well, I think is from the fear level as well. And to come
Mhm.
back into just kindness and creativity, expressiveness, and not holding ourselves back. And, people say like, how would I if I knew I weren't being judged, how would I express myself?
Mhm.
Like that kind of question.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
and to trust yourself to come from highest good, to be noble and honorable and good as you express yourself. And I think life feels different and it looks different if we're asking ourselves those questions.
Yes, I agree. To live a truly abundant life, what would you want our listeners and viewers, what would you want the audience to know should, to think about to live that truly abundant life?
I think abundance is natural to us. And when I say this, this is because each of us, like I was talking about my own early awareness of I'm connected to nature, so is everybody. And nature is abundant. Like nature is this infinite variety and beauty and strength and generosity. Like the tree shares its shade with everybody. And it's so dynamic. Like I look at nature every day and it's different every single day. And so there's this natural ability to abide. Like I really love the way trees are rooted and grounded and they abide. And so that's a really beautiful image for us. But trees also spire up into the heavens. And that's a really nice image for us that we're invited to be grounded and to abide, but also to spire up into highest good, into the heavens, if we like that word, into
Yes.
whatever our spiritual ideal is. And then I think that it's natural for us as soon as I realize, like, I am always connected to inspiration within myself intrinsically. Every human is. Then there's this natural listening to how does inspiration want to express through me? And so for an artist, it expresses through that artist in its way that it can only express through that artist, but through a builder, it expresses through that builder in a way it can only express through that builder. And through each of us, this is true. So whatever our talents are, whatever our skill sets are, they're actually part of this abundance. And we come pre connected to abundance because we all have natural talents. We all have natural skill sets. And so then for us to connect with that life energy, that energy of nature, and to allow that creativity to share through us in highest good. And for some people, like artists, that might be their profession. For the builder, that might be their profession. For other people, it might be that you do one thing in the day for a while for your day job, and then you're giving yourself creative outlet in other ways that are very meaningful. Like I know someone who's um, got a band and sings on the
Mhm.
weekends, right? And then is highly professional during the week. Not that
Mhm.
bands are not highly professional, they are also
Right.
highly professional. But for that person, there's
Yeah.
like a day job, and then there's like
Mhm.
on the weekend, I have this freedom to express myself, and I have these great gigs with my band. And so
Mhm.
that's an example of how it works for that particular person. But I would actually say abundance is intrinsic to every single one of us. It's absolutely natural. And I would also say there's a continual, what's the right way to put this? We each get continual guidance, we each get continual feedback.
Mm.
And we try different things and we learn from everything that we try. And then we're kind of given more feedback and we keep moving forward. We keep learning, we keep growing, we keep adjusting, we keep expanding. From my perspective, we abide and are steady, but we're also always learning and growing and expanding. So it's never done. Like we're never done being
Mm.
creative. We're never done being abundant. And almost like abundance outwardly arises naturally if we're connected inwardly. It's just a natural
Mhm.
expressiveness for each of us.
I agree. I think if you are open-hearted and living with that flow of and being kind to yourself and others, you will attract that abundance. It will come, like you said, and we'll get that feedback of what's working and not working.
Yeah, we get constant feedback
Mhm.
all the time. Yeah, so one of the things I teach yoga philosophy and meditation, and one of the things that yoga philosophy says is that reality is self-revealing. So it's we're always seeing reflected back to us. What am I
Mm.
focusing on? What energy am I moving in? And we're getting feedback, which is really helpful. And then we can say, okay, what am I energizing right now? Do I want to snap my fingers and make a shift and choose to focus on
Mhm.
something else?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Swami, I think our hour is almost up, so I want to make sure we give a moment for you to be able to share how anybody can connect with you and the work that you do in the world.
For sure. It's been an absolute joy talking with you and much joy to you and your
Mhm.
listeners. So I am at
Thank you.
Awake Yoga Meditation Center in Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States. We are at awakeyogameditation.org. That's our website. And you mentioned we do have teachings on YouTube. We also have teachings on Facebook and on Substack. And we have a lot of free materials out there. So all of our meditations, we have meditations on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. You can learn about them on our website, but you can all join immediately. Just hop online and join, or come in person if you're in the area. And then they're all donation based. So we make a choice deliberately to make them accessible to as many people as possible. And then we also appreciate support because it helps us be able to keep offering meditations. But there's an abundance of materials that are there if you want to learn more about what we've been talking about. And I would just say it's absolute joy. Being in community with people around the world is it's so much fun. It's absolute joy.
Yes, and it's great in this day and age that we can speak to anybody anywhere in the world. So just I love that you are embodying how I close my podcast every episode with the light in me honors the light in you. And I know that you're going to spread your light no matter what you do. So do you have any final thoughts?
Respect and joy, because for you and for your listeners, I want everyone to know how pure it is to connect with your light, but also how important it is to connect with your light. And I would just say that for every listener, every time you connect with your light, you make it possible for others to connect with their light as well, in the ways that it's natural for everyone to connect with their light. And what happens is there's this dynamic ripple effect that goes out. And so in some cases, like, you'll get feedback. Someone will say to you, thank you for that kindness or that insight or that smile or whatever it was that each listener passed on. But for every person who gives you feedback, there are hundreds whom you affect positively, and you might not ever know consciously. But every time you connect with the light, you make light more available. And this has ripple effects for our families, our relationships, our immune system, our sleep, our work, our creativity. It's in our jobs. It's beneficial in riding the bus and being in the post office and being in the grocery store. It's beneficial as well. So there's a really profound effect that we create for ourselves and for others if we just choose. I'm choosing to connect with light. I'm choosing to honor the light that is in all beings. And I'm choosing to make whatever choices are helpful and hopeful, and that make helpfulness and hopefulness available to others. And that really does change our experience of the world. It also makes the way open so that others' experience of the world changes as well.
Thank you. Well said. And I appreciate your time. We'll make sure everything is in the show notes for how to get in touch with Swami. And thank you for being here, everyone.
Well, that's it for today's episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast. And I hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. While Swami is an intellectual and teacher and professor and spiritual practitioner, she's so down to earth. So I hope that you could feel that through the conversation today, and that the episode gave you permission to slow down and breathe a little deeper and reconnect with a little quieter wisdom that's already within all of us. Because in a world that's constantly pushing us towards urgency and achievement, this conversation reminds us that joy, peace, and presence are not luxuries. They're essential parts of being fully alive. And what I loved most about this discussion was the reminder that spirituality doesn't have to be separate from ordinary life. It can live in the way that we speak to others, the way we care for ourselves, and the way we listen and choose kindness, even in those difficult moments. And if this episode resonated with you, I hope that you'll consider sharing it with someone you know who may need a little more calm and clarity in their life right now. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review on Apple or Spotify, and join us every Tuesday for new conversations on living with greater intention. Until next time, remember, the light in me honors the light in you. And as you head into the rest of your week, let your light shine through. Go slow to go fast, and thanks for listening.